Hey everybody, this is Uncle P from Super Easy Forex, and I know that a lot of people tune into my channel because of Forex, and I talk about Forex stuff a lot. I get that, but uh, you know, one of my closest friends, I would say, one of my closest friends had contacted me just a few minutes ago and kind of asked me my opinion about everything that's going on. Let me share why this is important. Okay. And then we're just talking. We're just talking. If you want me to talk about Forex all the time, this will be the last video. No problem. But I want to share just my thoughts because it's really painful what's going on. So one of my friends is a successful businessman, and he's actually white. I met him 13 years ago. 13 years ago, because the last house that I had built uh, ended up being right next door to him. And so that's how I met this gentleman. And so he just called me and he said, "Hey, Pat, I've known you for over 13 years. And we've done a lot together. We've talked together. We had a lot of meetings, blah, blah, blah." He used to come over to my house and we used to, because I had a pool table room in my house, and we'd come and shoot pool and talk about life and everything else. He watched me go through difficult times and so forth and so forth. But he said, I never talked to you about how it feels to be black. And he said, "I apologize. I feel like I haven't been a good friend because I failed to even have this conversation with you." And so he began to ask me questions. He asked me questions about what was my thoughts on what I see going on, uh, what's my experience as a black man, and so forth. And we just hung up. And we didn't even finish talking because he has a business meeting. He's about to do some other things for a large group of people this evening. And so I told him, "No problem, man. We can easily pick this conversation up and uh, pick it up even further." But it was interesting for me to hear his shock, having lived next to me for all those years and didn't know that this is the experience that even me, that I had as a black man. And so I'm just sharing this talk and this dialogue with you guys so that you guys can kind of get understanding of what is going on out there, because we see the rioting and the looting, and I told them everybody sees that, but I said they're missing the whole perspective of what is happening. And it's not just about the guy who died. Why are the youngsters rioting and looting and stealing what they're stealing? Watch this, and I'm gonna share it. I want you guys, you're gonna have to put your thinking cap on to understand what I'm about to share with you. So if you have conversations with others, you'll begin to have a better understanding if you're not black. Because it's not just the fact that rioting and looting is happening during this crisis time, but look at what they are stealing. So I'm going to walk you through this so that you can understand the pain, but not only the pain, but the psychology behind what's going on. Okay. So here's what I shared with him. He lived next door to me. He knew my house. I actually had the largest house for several miles. The only other people who have bigger houses than me were sports stars. I told you guys I used to live not too far from Deion Sanders, the football player, Torrey Hunter, the baseball player. They had bigger homes than me because guess what? They're sports stars, and there was a couple other sports stars and doctors who had a little bit larger homes than me. But for the most part, I had one of the largest homes in that neighborhood. I had a 7,000 square foot home. Okay, I custom built it myself. I designed it from blueprint to finish. Stay with me as I'm telling you this because you'll understand where I'm going with this whole situation. Okay, in my house, I had a shoe room built with I used to have, I think, around 200 or 300 pairs of shoes. Okay, I had a belt wall. Who does that? I had a belt wall so that when I got dressed, then I would go to my shoe room and pick out my shoes. And here goes somebody asking about USD. Come on, bro, for real. Are you gonna really do that while we're talking about real life, bro? Come on, please don't do that. That's why most of the time I cut all the comments off. I don't like that stuff. That irritates me beyond measure. Okay. So I told him he was highly successful as well. He lived right next door to me. I knew what he did. He was high into real estate. He managed millions of dollars of real estate and so forth and so forth, right? So I knew him. I knew exactly what he did because I used to do the same thing in real estate myself. I knew it. He's highly successful. But the way he lived, you would never have known how much. And I even told him today, I say, hey, man, I was your friend for 13 years. And see, it's not my place to ask people how much money they make. See, that's I think that's a rude question. That's why I don't like it in Forex when they ask you, well, yeah, how much is your rude or is your demo account or real or this and that. I don't like that. I think that's a very immature question to be on a professional level. You don't do that, and that's how I know people are not professionals in certain businesses because the questions you ask lets me know that you really don't know much or nothing. You're ignorant. So even though I knew he was highly successful, I mean, he's dealing with people from all over the globe who he's managing in Israel and everywhere. They're coming to him to manage their U.S. properties. And this is my friend from the next door, who's from the next door neighbor. But I never asked him how much money. Here was the interesting thing. I described how I lived on purpose. It was not to show out. It was to prove something so that you guys will get a better understanding of why the looting is happening. And I don't condone it, but I'm giving you a concept so you'll get this. So watch what happens. He is highly successful. I was doing very well myself. But notice the contrast of how we were living. For me, I have a belt wall. I have a closet. My closet was about, I think, 25 feet long for just my clothes. Then you go around the corner to the shoe room, which housed I had custom floor to ceiling shoe room that housed 200 or 300 pairs just for me. Then my wife has, on the other half, she had a room for about 200 or 300 pairs of shoes. So you look at about maybe 400, 500, 600 pairs of shoes for a wall that was built for that. And all my shoes were color coded. But my next door neighbor had none of the such. If you looked at the car he drove nothing more than a simple Toyota Camry, an older model. It wasn't even new. Me, I was flipping new cars every year, taking pictures, baller style kind of stuff. But my next door neighbor drove his car until the wheels fell off. Matter of fact, before I left from where we were living, a year or two ago, he had just literally replaced the car that he had all that time. And when he replaced it, it was still with just some ordinary car. You never would have known what he had. Me, you always knew what I had because I was showing out. I was making sure everybody knew I was successful. I was proving, and I want you guys to get what I'm saying. I was always trying to prove that to the public that I'm successful. Why would I do that when it wasn't even necessary? And I learned and I got rid of all that stuff because it's like, man, I don't need to prove nothing to nobody except to myself. And that's where the war begins. And I need you guys to get this. Watch how I connect these dots. Then when you turn on CNN, you'll begin to understand why black people are, and I do not agree with what they're doing. I hate what they're doing because I think it's ruining the message of what the real protesters are trying to convey. However, I get the concept because here's what's happening. Here's what I explained to him. I explained to him that because the black race in many cultures, because this is going on in China, we're hated in China. I don't know if you guys knew that recently, but as soon as the coronavirus came out, oh, we was mistreated. Oh my God, we're just a hated race. I don't know why, but we are. But it's been like that for centuries. But what makes it worse is because when you're a hated race, something psychological happens within your mind to the point where you question your own value in the universe. Because what happens is if you go everywhere and almost every place you go, you're treated like nothing. Then you begin to doubt whether you're something. Because how can I be hated everywhere I go? Just because of the color of my skin. And so it begins to seep down deeper into your psychological mind or the psychological mind of that culture or race of people. And so you're always on this perpetual point of trying to look like you're succeeding, even though within your mind, you still feel like you're behind other races. I hope this is making sense. I need you guys to understand this. Okay? So when you see these youngsters out there, look at what they're actually stealing. They're stealing things from richer neighborhoods, such as in Beverly Hills and all these other places. They're stealing things so that they can look, once they put them on, they can look and feel like they are important. Because what it does, it masks the true internal feelings of not feeling worth what you're worth. So you're always disguising it. You're always on the stage like an actor, always pretending to be successful because you don't really feel successful on the inside. When I grew up, just a little history. I grew up with the same mom, same dad. I got 4 brothers, 4 sisters. But what happened was that my older brother, because he was the oldest, he tended to get the new shoes and everything else, and I used to get his hand-me-downs. And I hated that. But I had great parents. It wasn't like we was in a loving family. It was just you raising 9 children, and you got to do what you got to do. So it's cool. But for me, I internalized that. And I said, when I have a chance, I'm going to. And I made these internal commitments. So when I did make a lot of money starting off first in real estate, and I began to, do my thing. Oh boy, guess what the first thing I did? I began to try to appear and show everybody else who made fun of me at the time because of my shoes and because of my hand-me-down clothes and everything else, even though they were no longer in my life because I'm a grown man. But in school, people used to tease me, even though I was still popular in school, but the people who did teased me about what I wore and everything else. So it's kind of like when I made money, it was to prove to everybody who made fun of me, I bet you ain't laughing at me now. And some of them, they ran into me, they saw me, and they was like, man, I want to be like you when I grew up. In my head, I was saying you was the same person who made fun of me when I was down. Now you're saying you want to be like me. And what did that do? That boosted my ego. And so now I begin to have this feeling of, okay, now I finally made it. But the truth is, if you ever really make it, and I'm talking to you guys who trade in Forex, so when you make it, you'll realize don't waste your money on buying these Lamborghinis. And that's why you never see me doing that stuff. You never see me flashing cars. You never see me flashing houses. You never see, because truth is, I don't want to even put out that kind of image that this is what life is all about. You make all this money so that you can look sharp and you can look like, because at the end of the day, what you make is nobody's business, and you don't have to be a walking commercial. Because at the end of the day, when you die, everything that you purchased, every pair of shoes you trying to show off in front of everybody and trying to ball out, and every single bit of it is going to be left right where it is, right here. So you're not owning anything, you're only renting it because it all belongs to God anyway. So don't make it about, and this is the message I'm trying to provoke and provide. I am trying to teach people, yeah, you can make money, that's fine, but invest it into things that matter, such as time with your family, such as donations to places where people are really needed. I just read an article this morning which broke my heart. 56 million people are potentially going to go hungry in a little bit of time. They don't even see this coming. Okay? 56 million people are going to be without food. This is what message need to be out there. So if you're making money, start donating a little bit to the less fortunate. See? It ain't about what you balling out of control with. And in all these videos, they're showing Lamborghinis, this and that. It lets me know, how do you feel about yourself? That you feel the need to have to prove everything that you own. You have to show out everything that you have to make people click like on your video. As if they're clicking on like, it's going to improve your status in life. You know, people don't even like me, and I never met them. I have never shaken their hand, never had a personal conversation, and me showing up my lifestyle is just going to infuriate them more. Why? Because people going to hate you regardless of what you do. No matter how much good you try to do, they're going to hate it. But the truth of the matter is, I'm not worried about the people who hate me for no reason. I don't even know you. But what I got to be careful of is that I don't fall into self-hatred, which is what you're seeing out there. It has fallen to a level of now everybody sees that on the global scale, okay, the whole world is seeing what we've been frustrated about, being mistreated as Black people or people of color. Because there's not just Black people, but it's Latinos and everybody, people of color. But the truth is, it goes deeper when you begin to have self hatred, when you begin to not like your own self because of your skin color, when you begin to, buy all this stuff to try to prove to the public that you're worth something because within you don't really feel like you're worth anything, no matter how much success God allows you to have. It becomes an internal issue. And so that's why when you see that looting and everything else, look at what they stole. They broke into Louis Vuitton. They broke into these stores up in Beverly Hills and all these other places trying to get what? I need to steal something. This is my opportunity to cash in. So when I wear this, people will think that I'm a baller. But the truth is, you just stole it. You just stole it. So it still doesn't give you personally any value because you didn't really earn it, you stole it. But the mentality is I have to appear successful to my local community, to the people I hang around with. I got to look like I'm doing something big, when in essence, that's not even necessary. But that comes into place when we have a self-hatred going on, which is going back to Jim Crow and all these other things, starting all the way back with slavery. When you devalue a race of people or even your own children, and I'm going to talk to you about that, be careful of how you treat your children. Because the same message you communicating to them now, I can't stand you, just so stupid. Get your black ass. And people talk like that. Lord forgive me, but they do. Talk to the kids like that. And so the kid grows up with a mentality of inefficiency. I'm not good enough. And then you have two groups of kids. You have angry kids who just go out and wild out and do some stupid stuff, which is what you see. Or you got ones who's always needing therapy. Either way it goes, both of it comes from the same area. A mindset that doesn't feel valued. I don't feel valuable. You want to know where depression comes from? I call it deep pressure. Deep pressure comes from where? From within. When you have pressure from within, it causes you to pull down. You feel weight on yourself. And I know, like I said, you can tune me out, call me whatever. That's fine. I ain't tripping because I know a lot of people, they only want to hear me talk about Forex. But today, I just wanted to kind of share ideas with you that I can't think past Forex, because Forex is all about money. But when you have money, but you have nowhere to spend it to, you're scared to go outside, I'm no different. I'm no different. How much money I have or don't have, it don't even matter to the police when I get pulled over. I'm just as nervous. Let me tell you guys a story about what happened to me, and I shared this with my friend because he didn't know this happened to me. I went into the store one time after church, and this was years ago. And thank God my kids were younger. They're all grown now, but when they were younger, this actually happened. And thank God it happened at the time it did, because they would have been traumatized if they would have remembered what happened, but they didn't. I had just left church. I was dressed up, had on some dress shoes. It's still painful to this day, that memory of it. That's why I don't think about it. But let me tell you the trauma that happens when you violate somebody and make them feel worthless. So I went into Burlington Coat Factory, and this was years and years and years ago. It's not Burlington. It was the security guard who worked there. So I got nothing against Burlington Coat Factory, okay? I'm not putting them down. But what happened was I walked in there, just came out of church, got on dress clothes, dress shoes, got my kids dressed with me. But watch what happened to me. Watch what happened to me. I decided I wanted to get me some new dress shoes. So I took off, like you would do. You would go into the store, you'll take off the shoe you have on, and you'll try on something to see if you like it, right? And if you don't like it, you walk out because you don't want to buy it, okay? I did the same thing. Kids in hand, me, okay? Mr. Successful. I tried on the pair of shoes. They didn't fit right. I decided, I'm just not going to buy them. I get my kids' hands, and I begin to walk out the door. Remember, I just came out of church. I got on church clothes with church shoes. The security guard came over and pulled me and began to restrain me in front of my kids in this store. And you know what they said? They said, well, you were trying to steal shoes. Okay, I'm trying to steal shoes. I said, but I'm wearing dress shoes. No, you swapped them out. I swapped out my dress shoes. This is me. See, that's why I say how much you have or don't have it when it comes to certain environments, it doesn't, people don't care because it ain't about them getting to know you. He didn't even know who I was. And it didn't matter who I was. It was the skull. This is all he knew. Now there was people, and y'all, whoever ever been to Berlin Coat Factory, you know people come in and out there all the time. Why would you stop the black man who's dressed in dress clothes, holding his little kid's hands? Do you think that I would swap out shoes, bro? Did I look that bad that you feel like I'm gonna swap out some shoes? I'm gonna come in here, take off the shoes I got, which look just fine, and then swap them out for yours in front of my kids, bro? You understand what I'm saying? This is the experience that black people go through. This is the experience. Now, all these people walking in and out ain't even holding no kids' hands, but you're going to pull me to the side in front of all these people. And I was so hurt that you even would pull that, but I was hurt even more that you would pull that in front of my children. And I never shared that story with my kids because they was too little to remember. And I don't want them thinking that this is a normal thing for them, even though it can be their experience. So I'm shedding light on what happens when you go through experiences like this all the time. And see, I'm just sharing one. I ain't sharing the others because it's not necessary. What's the point? What's the point of crying on camera so somebody can make fun of you? You know, it's not the point. The point is I'm shedding light on the experience of black people and why they're looting. Some of them are looting. And I disagree with what they're doing 100%. But I'm telling you, when you start stealing things to make yourself look and appear better, that comes from a deeper root of you not feeling better about yourself. For an example, if I didn't even have money, but I felt good about myself, I will not belittle myself by looting and stealing from another person because that will not add value to me as a black man. But if I don't feel good about myself on the inside, then I must belittle myself by trying to appear successful on the outside. And this is not just a concept that happens within black people, but we're talking about this since we're seeing the black situation. But you will see this across the board. When people do not feel healthy and good about themselves on the inside, then they resume to trying to appear like somebody on the outside. And this is what the looting is all about. Well, we been feeling like we've been restrained. So guess what? We're going to go to the rich neighborhoods and we're going to steal their Louis Vuittons. We're going to steal their this and their that and their Gucci's and da da da. And we're going to take what we deserve. Why? Because if I put this on and I walk down the street amongst my peers with some Louis Vuitton, it's going to add value in the eyes of those who see me. They going to think that I got money, even though I'm still just as broke as I was yesterday because I stole what you see me have. I didn't earn it. So even though you did all of that, many of these, once they get home and they start unraveling in boxes and the thrill of what you stole is over and the whole energy moment is over, and you got to sit and look at yourself in the face, you're still going to feel just as bad as you did the day before because you're going to know that I'm still not feeling good about myself inside. And what I just did was commit a crime to make myself appear successful to others. When in essence, I didn't even have to do that. I go back to my white neighbor. I moved from there since then, but we're still close friends. My white neighbor, you didn't even know he was a multimillionaire. There's a book that I read called The Millionaire Next Door. He is the epitome of a millionaire next door kind of thing. We both had money. We never compared dollars, which is another thing black people do. We're always comparing who got money. Well, you light skin, you dark skin. Well, I got more money than you. And we're always in this comparison thing. Why? Because inside, we're still destroyed. No matter how much success you give us, until we heal on the inside, we will not be successful. Because success starts on the inside, not the out. And so when I look at my neighbor, the millionaire next door, you never knew how much money he had. I mean, you would look at this dude, he wearing the same old baseball hat, same old regular clothes, sometimes high water. I wanted to tell him, bro, let me just take you shopping, dog, because you wear these high water jeans and this and that. But he wasn't about appearing successful. He didn't care because that was not his goal. He knew within himself that he was a successful man, and that was good enough for him. That was good enough for him. He was content within himself. So he had nothing to prove to anybody. If you liked his style of clothing, fine. If you didn't, fine. The only time I seen him change up, and this is a guy I lived next door to him for 13 years. He used to come to my house and we would shoot pool. We would go to lunch together. I knew this dude. He called me. He called me this morning. Pat, I've known you for 13 years, brother, and we never had this conversation. You are a black man. I want to know what your experience was. And he said, I'm sorry, man, that I never asked you this question. And I said, man, it's no big deal. It just was never a need for us to talk about it. But I'm glad that you asked. Let me share it. Let me share with you since you asked. I said, to be black, man, is a horrible experience. It's a horrible experience. I told him that if two people walked into an office, both of them could have went to the same prestigious college. Both of them could have had the same prestigious degree. But I said, I guarantee you, the white person who walks in that office is going to be considered first for the job before the black one. The black one is going to have to go overboard to prove that he's just as qualified as the white person. I said, this is one of the things I always hated, which is why I've always chose to be an entrepreneur. I've always chose to be an entrepreneur. I want to own my own business because I don't feel the need to prove to nobody. Now, I'm very angry, and I don't want to cuss on camera because that's not my style. That's belittling myself, but that's the word I want to use. I ain't proving nothing to you. I have nothing to prove to you. I had money before Forex. So these people would be saying, oh, he just did it for Forex. Man, please, Lord, forgive me. See, I was already next door to him long before I heard Forex. Okay? And I don't need to prove nothing to you. You the one coming on my channel trying to see what I got going on. I ain't coming to yours. I ain't tripping because I'm not about, and here's another thing you'll notice. With me, you never see me talking bad about anybody else's business because when you become content with yourself, you have no need to attack others to make yourself look good. You have no need to try to over show out and show what cars I got and what I own and this and that. You don't have to do that because you're content with who you are, and therefore you're thinking outwards as far as who else can I help versus who do I need to prove myself to. And if I can summarize everything that I'm saying, I think that is the biggest blessing that you can step into. When you finally become content with yourself, whether you have a little or a lot, ain't nothing to do with it. What it's all about is how content are you with yourself on the inside. And when you're content with yourself on the inside, you're not thinking about who you got to prove yourself to. You're just out there trying to see who else you can help. And it's a whole different world of thinking. But if you find that you're always out there trying to prove who you are, what you were, I know they don't know who I am. Truth is, it doesn't matter if they know who you are. Okay. My thing is that I'm sharing these ideas with you guys so that you'll get a better understanding from a black man what it feels like to be a black man in this community called the United States. It's a bad experience. Let me leave this with you guys. My wife, she had posted up a video on one of her pages, and I sat there in fascination, and I didn't even ask her who did this speech. But it was a white lady who went on stage, and I think it was a TED Talk, or wherever she was. But it was one of the most powerful things I saw. And what she said was this. She said, and it was, of course, at TED Talks, majority of people, where she was at least, it was white people in the audience. And she said, if you are white and you want to have the same experience as black people, please stand up. Nobody stood up. And she said, maybe you didn't hear what I said. Let me say it again. If you are a white person living here in this United States, now I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember. I wish I could pull up exactly because I would actually play it for you so you can hear it. If you are a white person living here in the United States and would like to have the same experiences as a black person, please stand up. She said it twice. Nobody stood up. And here's what she said. She said, that's an acknowledgement that you know what's going on for black people. You know what's going on for them, and you say nothing about it. I said, that was powerful. Thank you, sister, for saying that. So for me to conclude with this, let me conclude, because I didn't even intend on doing this. I usually keep my mouth shut about political stuff. I hate politics. I don't give a rat's behind about Democrats or Republicans, because truth be told, they're all doing foolish arguments, spending millions of dollars trying to tear each other down when they could actually spend that money to help feed these 56 million people who's about to go hungry. So miss me with all that. Our little company, we donate more money than a lot of these critics out here. And we ain't even nobody special. Miss me with all that. And yes, it's trackable. Contact PayPal. They handle all of that for us. So they know we donate thousands upon thousands of dollars. So when you buy our system, our trading system, thank you, because that's where a lot of your money is going. Okay? A lot of your money going there. So let me close this out, because I had no intentions of doing that, and it's time for me to go to lunch with my wife. I want to spend time with my wife. But let me say this. If you are black, and if you're white, stay tuned, because I got something for you. If you are black, we can riot, we can march, we can try our best to get the message out there. I'm not saying not to do so. But the truth is, when certain segments and groups of people choose to hate us, they're going to hate us no matter what we do. So just choose your actions wisely. Me, I choose to talk about it here for those who want to hear it. And then I'll choose to donate money to organizations that's going to help feed these hungry people and everything else. That's my way of being a blessing before God calls me home. Because we've been hated for centuries. So marching and everything else, we've done that already. And yeah, there has been some changes. But the truth is, until there's a change in the heart of a person, you can do all this action and ain't nothing going to be different. Amen? And that's the truth. So I can't look for me to march for the hopes that people will begin to like me. That's just like being on Facebook or social media doing the fool just so somebody can click a like button. Truth is, they're just not going to like me. I understand that. Even in this business of Forex or whatever else, no matter what you do, you're going to be hated. They don't have to know you. They just don't like you. They don't like your personality, they don't like your voice, whatever. In this situation, they just don't like my skin color. No matter what I do, no matter how much I come on here and I'm Mr. Super Easy Forex, I'm Uncle P, I'm always trying to give encouraging messages. But the moment I turn this camera off and I go down the street, because I do live in the neighborhood where I am now, I'm pretty much one of maybe 4 black men that I actually even seen to live around here. And because I chose not to change my style of clothing, I like my baseball hats. I'm always going to be considered the thug around here, even though I'm living in this prestigious area. Why? Because it ain't the baseball hat, it's this. See, it's this. I'm black. So when they see me, the first thing they're going to do is clutch their purse and still feel kind of threatened. Why? Because I'm black. It doesn't matter that I can afford to live in the same neighborhood as y'all. It doesn't matter that some of y'all hustling to work and you wondering, how is this black man living in the same neighborhood and I never seen him leave his house? It doesn't matter about that. They probably think I'm dealing drugs. I keep my mouth shut. I don't talk to people about what I do around here, because what's the point? I ain't got nothing to prove. If you ask me, I'll tell you. But if you ain't asking me, I ain't tripping. It's not my place to try to, well, let me tell you what I do. Because again, I'm just falling back into the same thing of feeling that need to prove myself to somebody. I don't do that. I don't do that. I may have more resources in my bank account than you. But because you're white, you feel fit right in this neighborhood. Nobody asks a single question. You can wear, I can take this hat off right now and hand it to a white person. They can walk up and down the street and people say, oh, that's a very nice hat. I like Adidas. But I wear this hat, this box shaped hat, and ain't like what do you call it, a golf club kind of shaped hat. It's just this square hat. Oh man, NAACP, you know, you know, NWA, you know what I mean? You know, I'm thug. I'm here to rob people, not knowing I live right around the corner. Okay. If you're white and you heard what I said, I hope you have a little more compassion for what you're seeing playing out. Now, again, I'm not saying have compassion for them breaking in and stealing. Man, I'll tell you, Lord have mercy. That's just one of the most ignorant things. But do you I hope this conversation we're having today, that it kind of makes sense. The thought process as to what are they actually stealing? They're not stealing groceries. They are stealing things to make themselves appear to be worth something. That's why they're stealing the Lucci, the Louis Vuittons, and the this and the that, and the fancy glasses and all these different things. Everything to make themselves appear, because on the inside, it's a different story. I wish I could share this with 1 million black people, that we don't have to appear to be valuable. We just have to be valuable to ourselves. And the moment I released myself from that prison of feeling like I had to prove my worth, I can buy whatever I want today. I choose not to, because what's the point? I have nothing to prove to anybody, including myself. I'm finally content with myself. So that big old house with the 300 pairs of shoes and the shoe and the belt wall and all that stuff, I got rid of all of it. I donated so much of that stuff, all them clothes and shoes, and I got rid of it. 50 watches. I had to have a watch that matched every outfit I wore. So I had 50 watches, 50 baseball hats. I had a belt wall, shoe room. Everything was color coded. Everything was color coded. Everything. And now it don't matter, because I woke up out of my stupor. Who are you trying to prove? What are you trying to prove, bro? New car every year or every other year, buying a new car. Had to come off the showroom floor. For what? Do you know that house I told you about from Deion Sanders and Tory Hunter? That was one of 3 homes I had within a 10-minute space. I had 3 homes. I call it the small, medium, and large. 7,000 square foot house, a 4,800 square foot house, and a 2,500 square foot house, all within 10 minutes of each other. Who does that? You understand what I'm saying? What's the point, dog? What's the point? Now, I don't need none of that stuff. I got my investment here. Many of you guys who's in my group, you know this. I talk about this all the time because you know I preach values. Preach values. And my value is, like I'm about to do, I'm about to be done with this video, and I'm gonna do the most valuable thing I can do with myself, with my remaining time on this planet. We've already helped others. Now I'm going to go have lunch with my wife. And I'm gonna spend quality time with my wife, because that, I can't get that time back. Proving to people who I don't even know, never met in my life. I know a lot of people, but a lot of them I never met in my life. I have thousands of people who know who I am, but I don't know you personally. I love you and I care for you. But at the end of the day, I want to go to the grave knowing that I spent quality time with my family. I invested in time with my family. And even if that's just as simple as us, which we do, we go for walks together. Every week we go for a walk. Nothing important, just go out in nature and we just go walking. Then we go have lunch or something. And that's our day. And that's good enough for me. I need to prove to her that I love her, and to my kids that they know I care about them. And that's that. The public will like you. You remember, and I'll leave you guys with this. And this was a big aha too. Especially black people, always remember this, because the same people who you know, you who say they love you today, they sometimes are hating you on the low because of what you got and what you wear, even though they don't know you just stole it. But here's the deal, and I'll leave you guys with this. Jesus had helped so many people, fed the 5,000 with the 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Some of you guys who go to church know that story. You know, healed a lot of people and all these different things. He did a lot of good for people. He did. But when the decision came and the crowd had a choice to choose who was going to be crucified, they said, do you want to crucify Barabbas or Jesus? The very one who did all of this for them, healed them, fed them, preached, taught them, and everything else, the crowd screamed his name. Now, you would have thought somebody would have spoke up and said, how dare y'all niggerachis sit there and say, let's crucify Jesus when he done fed us, preached to us, he came and visited the sick, he did all these good things, and yet this dude, Barabbas, who calls, guess what, an insurrection, they call it an insurrection, he caused a riot. That's what he did. He caused a riot. That's why he was hooked up in jail. He caused a riot. He did wrong. They call it insurrection, it's a riot. Same thing we see in the streets today. Meanwhile, Jesus didn't do any of that. He was out helping people. But the first name they called was crucify him, crucify Jesus. So let me tell you, black people, don't worry about trying to prove nothing to anybody other than to yourself. Love yourself. Love yourself. Let me leave you with a concept as well. The word self-esteem, and I want everybody who's tuning in and those who may hear this later, and prayerfully you guys share this video. I'll probably never do this again because I only want to talk about business, Forex trading. But I want to share this with you guys. Write this concept down because I am a certified life coach, just so you know, okay? I am. The word self-esteem, write this down and don't ever forget it. They give all these concepts. I'm going to give it to you the way I teach it to people who I taught it to. The word self-esteem, the concept is this. It simply means to esteem oneself. Write that down. Self-esteem means to esteem oneself, or to make it even simpler, self-esteem means to believe in oneself. That's what it simply means. So when you hear some people say they have low self-esteem, what they mean is basically, I have low belief in myself. That is what you're seeing playing out in the streets. And it was compounded because of how we're being treated to help further reinforce the message that I ain't worth. That's the way it comes out. I must not be. Look at how I'm being treated by the police. Look at how as soon as I walk in the store, people think they turn the cameras on me, thinking I'm here to steal. Look at how when I go for a job interview, I got to work 3 times as hard to do a song and dance to prove that I'm worth what I'm worth, when every other race can get away with whatever, and nobody thinks another thing. CNN reporters, 2 black CNN reporters arrested. But I watched CNN for the last several days. The white and Chinese reporters, guess what? Oh, you guys stand behind us. Stand behind us. It was like they were under protection. But 2 black guys who are CNN reporters showed their ID, they got arrested. That helps to encourage the term low self-esteem or low value of oneself. So if you're dealing with low self-esteem, what you have to fix is your estimated value. And that is the term that it actually means. Your estimated value, your personal perception of your estimated value. And when you fix your personal estimated value, and it has nothing to do with how much money you have or don't have. You can be poor and still feel valuable because you learn that your money does not make you anybody important. It is how you feel about yourself. As a matter of fact, the better you feel about yourself, the faster you get out of poverty, because you think your way out of it. Because like I told you guys a long time ago, when I was standing in that line waiting for government cheese and butter to feed my family, I had nothing. But in my mind, I told myself, I don't belong here. This is not for me. And I fought my way out of poverty. But it was when I made a lot of money, my mind reverted back to the people who made fun of me. So I ended up spending a lot of money on buying all this show-offy kind of stuff, flashy jewelry and da-da-da, and all these cars and da-da-da, trying to prove to everybody who made fun of me, yeah, y'all niggerachis made fun of me, but guess who on top now? See, I went back in my mind to a lower self-value, even though I had a lot of money. So your value don't come from money, it comes from your personal perception of self. And this is what you're seeing playing out. The low perception of myself that I have to steal to attain the thing that I can think my way to achieve. So I just take what I think belongs to me because I don't think any differently of myself. That's what you're seeing playing out. And it didn't help that the police treat you like that too. And other races treat you like that. So it's just an embedded pain. Okay? So, in conclusion, I hope this video was helpful. I hope that you got a blessing out of it. Whether you like me, don't like me, it's okay. I love you anyway. In Jesus' name, I really do care for people. I love you guys. And I appreciate your time of listening to this message. I know it's not about Forex. I probably will never do this again, but I just thought, you know, why not share my ideas? People always asking me my opinions on business, on this and that, da-da-da, all the time. Well, why can't I share my ideas about how painful it is to be black, since this is the environment we're looking at? Why not just share it? Especially when one of my best friends, who's highly successful, shocked me when he just called me this morning. Sent me a text first. He texted me, "Hey, when you get a minute, can I talk to you about something important?" Okay, and I'm like, "Okay, let me hear see what's going on." And he said, "Well, you know, I don't feel like I was a good friend to you all these years. 13 years we lived next door to each other." And he said, "I don't feel like I was a good friend to you because I never asked you about how you feel as being a black man and what's your experience." And I said, "Man, that was such a blessing." And watch this, and I'll leave you with this also, a good nugget. This is why I'm careful about the people who I have close around me. I'm very careful about that. I don't need a lot of people around me, but I'm very careful about those I do. Look at the blessing. My white friend, we're not even next door neighbors, but he hit me up. I live in a whole different state now, but he hit me up just to ask me that question. "Hey man, how does it feel to be black, man? I'm sorry I didn't ask you that." I said, "Man, don't worry about it. The conversation situation never came up where we needed to talk about it, but since you asked," I said, "Let me tell you how it feels. Let me tell you. Matter of fact, when me and him used to go to lunch in different places, even if I'm treating, even if I'm treating, look at me. I'm with this pale white guy, older guy, pale white guy. And here I am with my baseball hat on my head, looking like the odd couple." To the public eye. And they're kind of like, well, he must be mentoring him. But I told him, I said, "Thank you, man. But, you know," I said, "the reason why we never had to have this conversation is because you never treated me other than just a friend. You didn't treat me like a black friend. You just treated me like a friend. So we never even had to have these conversations." And so I say, for that, I thank you. The way you guys, you and my wife, their kids and my kids grew up together, you know, and so you guys just loved on us as people. And the fact that they're Christians, you know, that really helped because, you know, a lot of people go to church and say they're a Christian, they believe in God or whatever religion you are, and really don't care. But one of the things I hate, and this is why my principle is, don't even tell me about what you believe. Let me see it. Shut your mouth about what you believe. I don't care. I don't want to hear that, "Oh, I'm a Christian." I don't care. "I'm a Buddhist." I don't care. I don't care what your religion is. Save that bull crap. I'm gonna switch the word because I feel cuss words on my tongue. I am angry about everything that I see going on and how I feel. So I'm trying to carefully restrain my tongue in Jesus' name. But I don't want to hear your crap. I don't care what you believe. Save it. Let me see how you act when you leave your church building and your church meetings or your religious services. And let me see how you treat the ordinary person like me who you don't know who I am. You don't even know who I am. But let me see how you treat me, or the less fortunate, the poor man who's laying on the corner, in the street corner. Let me see if you will stop by and give that man $1. Or are you gonna sit there and say, "Oh well, he probably on drugs"? Whose damn business is that? If it wasn't for the grace of God, it could have been you. Have you ever talked to these people? I did. Still do. I hold conversations with them. I want to know, how did you get here? And it's always something that a simple situation sometimes happen, and it devastated them. It devastated them. It devastated them. And they could never mentally recover from that. And they ended up homeless. You don't even talk to them. You too bougie. I was trying to prove something to somebody. I don't talk with those people. They're people. You don't give nobody $1. Your cheap ass self. Lord forgive me. I told you I shouldn't be talking. When I'm angry, I always say the wrong things, and then I end up having to repent. And I'm sorry. Okay. Let me cut this so I won't go further and mess up my testimony that I'm trying to help, because I'm trying to be a blessing. Anyway, I hope this helped. You guys have a great day. All right. Bye.